Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me. It's wonderful to meet you in person. I'm a huge fan. And I love that we get to chat a little bit. So welcome.
Thank you.
To Actua. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Yeah. Well, I've been fortunate enough to move to the city of Ottawa for a dream job. I've been a hockey player for all my life. It gave me the opportunity to go to university, play for the national team for a number of years, and now to play professionally for Ottawa in the first ever season of the PWHL. So, very lucky to be here in this place, and also, I think the most important job in my life. I'm also a mom, and that brings me a lot of joy as well. So, yeah.
And how has it been moving to a new city and getting adjusted, and then coming into a high pressure job, and also doing that with a lot of little people running around as well that need attention?
It's been busy. It's been a whirlwind. Definitely a lot of logistics, moving a family here, but it's been such a warm welcome from everyone in the organization, and then beyond that to the Ottawa community and our fans. I could never have imagined when this league launched, late last year, that we would have this sort of immediate response from the Ottawa community. And I think it just shows how excited people are for this opportunity for, the women in this city and the young girls in this city, and just fans of women's sports.
Absolutely.
And it's cool because sport brings people together, right?
Yes.
That's the magic of it. And we definitely feel that.
I'm so glad you feel it, because the city feels it. And, part of what I think you bring, it's women's sport. It is, but it's so much bigger than that. And I have tried to sort of articulate that, and a lot of people kind of like get the feeling of what it is for, for the city. And I'm glad you feel it, because the city definitely is like just so grateful to have the team here and to have all of you, being here and doing what you do. So speaking of pressure, because we all, I know pressure well. You certainly know pressure well. You've known it from a very early age with high expectations. Like you played, U18, right? The first time you were on the international stage. I don't know how old you would have been, but what was that experience to you at the time? Like, how did you adjust, and how did that send you on the trajectory that you're on now in terms of dealing with that pressure? Because you've been in a lot of areas. We've all been in high pressure. You do it with the world's eyes on you.
Yeah. I think, when you're young in your career, that pressure can feel like a negative pressure. And then I think as time goes on and you kind of gain that experience and learn how to channel that pressure into, positive emotion, it can become something that you crave. We always say with the national team, we want to, pressure is a privilege, and we want to be in those big game situations and make an impact for our team. But I remember when I was younger thinking like, oh my gosh, if I ever make the Olympics, like, I don't know how I'm going to sleep before those games. And, you get to those moments and when you've kind of put in the preparation and the years of work, like with anything, you're like, okay, I am prepared for this. And the pressure is an exciting thing, a motivating thing, rather than something that kind of weighs you down.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And, in this profession, in this sport, there's constantly ups and downs, right? So you are, faced with not just, on the ice, a loss, or, but off the ice as well. And the path that you followed to get to where you are. Can you talk about just a moment that might come to mind of a particularly challenging time that you've had on ice or off ice? I'm sure off ice has been equally challenging. And how do you use that to move yourself forward?
Yeah, you're kind of guaranteed, I think, to have a lot of those ups and downs if you're lucky enough to have a long career in sport and in high performance sport. I think back to just on a team level with the national team. 2018, we lost the Olympics in a shootout. The next year we went to the World Championships and we got bronze, which was the first time ever that a Team Canada had achieved a result less than silver. And I remember it just felt like we had kind of hit rock bottom as a team, and we needed to kind of look in the mirror and see what we could change and see how we could grow stronger. And going through that journey with my teammates and investing in our team and our relationships and putting the work in, and then coming back in 2022 and winning gold at the Olympics. I believe sort of those tough moments that we went through, including the pandemic and all that came with that, I think that unified us as a team and helped us prepare for that big moment where we could show up and be able to be successful at the top of the podium. So, it sounds like a cliche, but the adversity that you go through absolutely builds you so that when the moment comes to kind of be able to climb back on top, you're prepared for it.
And I find it fascinating when you say, you had this result, which is still, for all of us, it's still incredible. But for you and for the team, it was such a low point. And you said that you invested in relationships. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Because I find it, I'm always drawing parallels to other sphere, in an organization that, builds itself up and has a failure, refocusing on team is often one of the things you have to do.
Yeah, and that's what we did. Obviously, we made changes with our tactical plan and things like that. But the greatest change we made was how we invested in our culture. And there's a few different ways that we did that, but caring about each other as people rather than just hockey players and just teammates. It created a safe space, a psychologically safe space where we felt like we could be ourselves at work and not be afraid to make mistakes, which is such an important feeling to have when you're playing at an Olympic level. You can't play with the fear of losing, but you have to play brave and want to go out and chase a win. And so much of that, when you're watching on TV, you might not realize how much of that comes down to the culture in the dressing room. And the culture between the coaches and the players. So we really spend a lot of time building those relationships first with each other, with our coaches, with all of our staff. And it really created this trust amongst our team that persists today, and just an amazing culture where we feel like there's no adversity that we can't tackle together.
It's unbelievable. You need to write a book. I hope you do.
I'm sure some teammate will write it. I don't know if it'll be me, maybe.
Your experience, because there's so many parallels, but I would love to ask you a little bit about the role that you played off the ice in the PWHL and the work that you did between the players and the league. What was that like for you? Was that something you naturally were able to step into? Obviously you're a strong leader as the captain, you've been chosen as the captain, you have that leadership ability. How did you know what to do? How did you
didn't always know what to
I know.
do.
It's a simple question. Straight. But yeah, tell us about that, because you were really formative. A lot of people might not know that about your role.
Well, I had the privilege of serving on the board of our player union that we established. But I kind of fell into the role organically. We had when our previous Canadian league folded. We were at a World Championships at the time, and a few of us from Team Canada got together with a few of the players from Team USA, just to discuss, where do we go next? It was a really tough moment for women's hockey, because this league that a lot of us had played in seemed to be going well, just financially not viable and shut down. And we decided that whatever path we took, we needed to be together. And so that was when kind of Team USA and Team Canada unified, which is such a weird statement to make in women's hockey because we're bitter rivals.
Yeah.
I just kind of fell into that role, and it was a privilege to be on that board and then to be a part of the CBA negotiating committee when we did. Our union, raised a lot of money in the last, the 4 years following 2019. Built a model that was then brought to investors, and lucky enough to land an amazing ownership group that is the PWHL now, Billie Jean King, Mark Walter, and those giants. So lucky enough to be a part of that negotiating committee. going in with no experience at the bargaining table.
Amazing.
We were surrounded by experts, and it was, I think, going through that process, just genuinely being a voice for the players. We actually brought a lot of knowledge to the process that we didn't expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we were the women that knew the space. We know the sport. We know what goes into it. We know, what is needed for it to be professional. So it was really a great experience to learn from the experts we had around us, like our legal team and our advisors, but also to be confident bringing our voices to the table, because the value or the knowledge that we had from living it out was super valuable in establishing the CBA.
So what I love about that is the lived experience part, and that, and I think so often, and we know this because we do a lot of research at ACTUA on why girls choose or don't choose to go into certain career paths. We care a lot about science and technology, but it's the same for any non-traditional path. A big part of it is like a perception that they don't have the expertise, or they don't have the skill. And we tell them all the time, like, your lived experience and your perspective on the world, your ideas are, our skills, they matter. They have a lot of value. And so hearing you say that is super validating, and it's why you're such a strong role model for girls. I want to know what it's like to interact with Billie Jean King. As I grew up, and she was as much royalty. My dad's in the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame for tennis. He's a big tennis player. Billie Jean King was like as much of a god in our house as anyone else. Yeah. So I went to see it's PWHL, or it was a different league, but
there's a lot of letters that are confusing, but Professional Women's Hockey Players Association.
That's right.
is what we had the last couple of years until this dream of the Professional Women's Hockey League came true.
Exactly. And we were at the game. We had the hockey team, and they, out of nowhere, just announced that she was coming on the ice. I couldn't, like, the girls were like, Coach Jen, are you okay? I mean, there's no one that, to me, is more of a voice for just women's equity, gender equity and all things as her. So I'd love to know, what is it like to work with someone like that?
Very surreal.
Yeah.
I think the first time I was on a Zoom call with her, I'm like, what is my life right now?
Totally, yes.
But having her involved from the origins of our Players Association was so important, because she was the unifying voice. She's such a motivator. Yes. When if you ever hear her speak, and we had, I remember we had an all-player meeting with her in person, I think maybe in the first year, and she told us, like, it might not happen overnight. It might be a long, winding road to get to where you want to go, but it's going to be worth it. And the key is that you stay together. And she had that, like we talk about lived experience. She had that when they were establishing the WTA. I think I have that correct. And she said, that's your power. Your power is when you are unified. And she said, just stay patient, stay determined. And it took a lot of patience. It's not easy to keep a group of people together, right? Especially when the pandemic hit and we weren't even able to play that much hockey. And it was challenging, but she always kind of was there for those motivational speeches and to keep us on track. And we trusted her because we knew she had done it before.
And I think, what amazes me about you and so many of your colleagues is just, like, you have to go out and be 100% focused on the ice, and you have a job to do there. And then you have this whole other job to do off the ice, which is, advocating and building and, making sure that, that pathway to sustainability is there. What is required for sustainability? I think that's what, the kind of discussion around, like, the sold out games and how much energy is around the teams. What do you think are the barriers in the next few years?
Well, I think I can speak to the barrier prior to this league. I think it was just investment in the marketing and
yes,
exposure to our game, because the game has been at this level. The speed, the skill. Obviously, it's getting better and better every year, but it's been at a great level for a long time. But hockey fans didn't know where to go to watch it, and didn't have, we didn't see it on TV. We didn't hear about it. So I think that's been the biggest barrier. in terms of the next few years, that's a great question. I think it will be kind of continuing to expand the fan base. I think one thing that has been so cool seeing the launch of this league is when I look at the fans in the rink, I don't think we're necessarily kind of carving out NHL fans to come over to our league. I think we've got a whole new group of fans.
I agree.
And I don't know if it's wishful thinking, but I think we're creating a space that is really welcoming to maybe some people that haven't always felt so welcome in a hockey rink. And obviously, I think all hockey community is working on changing that.
Yes.
I genuinely think there's a lot of great people in men's hockey that are working to make it more inclusive. But I think that's a special thing that this league has captured, and I think we can't get complacent. We have to continue to make sure that we involve more and more people in our movement and make people feel like they can come to the rink and it's a celebration.
And it is like the best, safest, best energy. Like it is. I don't want you to sit in the stands because I want you on the ice. But I wish you could sit. I wish you could. I'm sure other people that are close to you have sat in the stands and can tell you, it is that way. It's like no other experience that
it's more
I've
than
ever.
A hockey
it's
game,
more than that, yes.
For sure. We feel that.
I'm so glad. So my last question is, so I love sports. I love women's sport. I am a huge advocate and a volunteer in this space. My other sort of passion is around, equity in education and women in science and technology. And I, especially for the past few years in working with these young girls that I've had the privilege of working with, the parallels between what I see them developing in a team sport, in a girls' team sport, and the skills and experiences required to go into science and technology or any other sort of non-traditional career path it has continued to kind of knock me over in terms of the parallels. I also know that so many women who are high achievers in science and technology will credit competitive team sports when they were younger with the skills that they have needed to be successful. Can you just comment on, does that strike a chord with you in terms of, the skills that that you're gaining? Obviously, you have, your career path is professional athletics, but, for girls, that the importance of that experience as, a team sport.
Yeah, I credit, I think, so many of the strong and healthy habits I have in my life to being a part of a team environment and learning, the discipline, the hard work. Sport has a great way of kind of emphasizing some of those skills in kind of like a short season, right? Yes. You learn the importance of work ethic. You learn the importance of sticking to a game plan and trusting the process and all of these great things. And I think I credit a lot of my skills to that exposure, and especially in the team environment, because most jobs, most industries, you're working in a team, and it's how can you get the best out of the others around you, and how can you bring your best self to work, even when you're having challenging moments with others, right? Working through conflict. So much of that I learned through hockey, and I would expect if I do one day get a real job, that it would certainly help me.
Yeah, I think your job is very real. So we had the chance to have a conversation with girls before, and one of the things that I think they would have really resonated with is your discussion around failure and, having those low moments. And what we have found, and we work with tens of thousands of girls across the country, coming out of pandemic, they have missed the opportunity to take risks and learn that it's okay to be wrong about something or to take a risk and not, be successful. We see it, and we are really worried about what that's going to do to kids writ large, but like to girls especially. So I think that messaging is so critical, and why we love science and tech is that these are great ways for them to experiment, fail, try it again. So I think that message is just so critical, and you deal with it, day to day, week to week, in terms of the roller coaster of just playing a competitive sport.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes me think of one of those common questions that I get asked often from parents, but sometimes from young kids is how did you make it to the national team? How did you make it to that level? And it's funny because I think they expect like a specific answer, like I played on this team. And everyone that I've played with on the national team, the route to get there has been so different.
Yes.
But the one kind of common thread is that they just continue to grow at every stage. They continue to try to seek ways to get better. And everyone had their own different adversity that they went through that kind of led them to that path. And I think you make a really excellent point, the importance of those failures, and it's the kind of commitment to move through those and learn through those. That's going to make someone successful in STEM in any industry.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, but thank you for what you're bringing to the city and to the country. I do think it's going to be one of those things that we all like look back on this first season and, just recognize what a historic, event it was. So thank you.
Thank you.